So today, we're diving into a philosophy that's over 100 years old, but is totally shaking up modern classrooms, Montessori. We're going to break down how this unique training helps you move way beyond old school teaching to build skills that are truly centered on the child. But first, let's start with a big question. Just think back to when you were in school. You know, the rows of desks, the same textbooks for everyone, all learning the exact same thing at the exact same time. But does that model really work for the world we live in now? There's this growing feeling that we need something more dynamic, something more personal, that really makes us rethink how we do things. And that's exactly where child-centered teaching comes into play. See, instead of trying to fit every kid into the same box, this approach just flips the script completely. The teacher's role, it changes from being a lecturer at the front of the room to more of a guide on the side, adapting to each kid's own rhythm and what they're truly passionate about. It's a simple idea, really, but the impact is huge.
And you know, no philosophy really captures this idea better than Montessori. So let's dig into where this whole revolutionary approach even came from.
All right, let's take a quick trip back in time. The year is 1907. We're in Rome, where an Italian physician, Dr. Maria Montessori, is about to completely change the game of education forever. So she was working with children in some of the city's poorest neighborhoods, and she noticed something incredible. When kids were given freedom, but within a carefully prepared, structured environment, their ability to learn didn't just get a little better, it absolutely skyrocketed. This wasn't about chaos, it was all about guided independence. And this quote, it really gets to the heart of everything she believed. Montessori was convinced that curiosity isn't something you have to teach, it's something you have to trust. So the teacher's job isn't to just pour knowledge into a child's head, but to create a space where that natural drive to learn can just, well, flourish. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does all of this actually look like when you put it into practice? Let's step inside a Montessori classroom and see how this philosophy really comes to life. This right here, this is probably the single biggest shift in the Montessori method, the teacher's role. You go from being the sage on the stage to the guide on the side. So instead of just delivering information, your goal is to watch, to facilitate, and to empower kids to discover things for themselves. It is a complete redefinition of what it means to be a teacher. So how do you learn to do all this? Well, it's a pretty structured journey. It all starts with learning to be a really sharp observer. From there, you learn to build what's called a prepared environment. That means everything is child-sized, easy to access and make sense, all designed for independence. Then, the focus shifts to guiding kids with hands-on materials, and this is so important. Things like colored beads aren't just toys, they're tools that make abstract ideas, like multiplication, something you can actually touch. And finally, you learn to track progress by watching every day, not just by looking at test scores. Every step just builds on the one before it. And the training itself is, well, it's incredibly thorough. You'll dive deep into child psychology to understand the why behind how kids act, but you'll also learn the how, like using very specific hands-on materials to teach tricky concepts in math and language. It's that mix of deep theory and real-world practical skills that makes this training so powerful. All right, so if you're listening to this and thinking, hey, this sounds like me, what's the next step? Let's check out the different courses you can take, because there's pretty much a perfect fit for any career goal you might have. The great thing is, the training is tailored to the age group you want to teach. You can specialize in early childhood for infants and toddlers, or you can go the most popular route, which is for the pre-primary years. If you're looking for a quick skills boost, a certificate course is a great option. But a full diploma, that's your launchpad for a serious career, maybe even an international one. And you know, it's really important to remember that the benefits here go way beyond the classroom. This kind of training is like a powerful form of personal development. It really builds deep empathy, incredible patience, and strong leadership skills. And those are things that are valuable no matter what you do for a living. Okay, so let's talk careers. Where can this training actually take you? A Montessori certification isn't just another piece of paper. It's like a key that can unlock a whole world of opportunities, both here at home and all around the globe. Honestly, the career paths are so diverse. Of course, you can become a Montessori teacher, but graduates also become curriculum planners, education consultants, and even child development specialists. And a lot of them go on to become entrepreneurs, opening their own successful preschools. So what about the financial side of things?
Well, as you get more experience, you can see some really solid salary growth. But the real story here is the global demand. A Montessori certification can open doors to way higher earning potential in places like the UAE, the UK, and the US, which makes it a really powerful investment for a global career.
At the end of the day, the Montessori method gives us one really powerful vision for the future of education, one that's built on trust, independence, and curiosity. It kind of forces us to ask ourselves what really matters when we're preparing kids for the world. So the question we'll leave you with is this: if it were up to you, where would you begin?